Yesterday, the Office of the Medical Examiner ruled her death an accident, saying she overdosed on a combination of prescription and alcohol. Her close-knit family says they went to the apartment the next day after frantically calling and texting Lauren and were referred to a Detective Cronin.
When Lauren Smith Fields opened an account on Bumble, she just wanted to find genuine connections that could perhaps lead to something someday, but she had never imagined the fate that awaited her. After trying to contact her for a day and failing to reach her, Lauren's mother Shantell became worried about her. When they visited her apartment, they heard a mortifying news. Lauren had passed away the day before. The police refused to cooperate with them, and Lauren's family was left in the dark with no hope of justice and a few burning questions. Who took Lauren's life? What did they want from her? And why wasn't the police helping them with any information? Let's take a look at Lauren Smith Fields' case, the girl who lost her life after a Bumble date. Lauren Smith Fields was 23 years old and lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She was a student at Norfolk Community College, majoring in physical therapy. Her friends and family knew her to be a lively, fun-loving, and outgoing girl who enjoyed every moment of her life. She spent most of her free time either with her family or pursuing her passions, which were fashion and traveling. As she had most of her life sorted out, Lauren was also actively looking to date men. With that hope, she opened an account on Bumble. Bumble is a dating app where men and women can create profiles with basic details and locations. You get a queue of interests nearby, and you can choose to match with them by swiping right. Swiping left removes them from the queue. Both the male and female have to swipe right on each other to match. Once matched, the female can initiate a chat with the male, and the two can decide on a meetup. The app is pretty popular among the youth for finding dates, and there have been reports of finding serious relationships among people who found suitable partners through this app. Although some dating apps have a questionable reputation, Bumble has mostly been considered a safer option for finding dates. Lauren matched with a man named Matthew LaFontaine, and the two hit it off. She spoke to him for a few days and then invited him over on December 11th, 2021. She was hoping to have a good time with him and also wanted to get to know him better. On December 12th, 2021, Shantell Fields, mother of Lauren, tried contacting her daughter since morning, but she didn't pick up or return her texts. Worried for her daughter's well-being, Shantell and her son visited Lauren's apartment the next morning. They found a note on the door that said, "If you're looking for Lauren, call this number." Her mother called the number, and the landlord came to meet them, and what he told her turned her world upside down. He informed her that Lauren had passed away the day before.
Their attorney says the family found a note with a phone number on Smithfield's door around 7:30 p.m. the next day. The landlord notified them of her death.
Shantell and her son were devastated and didn't know how to respond to the information. The landlord told them that the police knew about it and were already conducting an investigation. Shantell was confused because they hadn't reached out to her or her son with the news of her daughter passing away. The landlord then gave them the contact number of the detective in charge of the case. When Lauren's brother called him, he informed them that Lauren had met a man on a dating app and had spent some time together the previous evening, and then she passed away in her bed.
She was found by a man she allegedly met on the dating app Bumble. The man is 37 years old and white, according to public record, and he called the police, according to the incident report, when he says he woke up next to her and she was not breathing.
The detectives told them that according to Lauren's date, Matthew, he arrived at Lauren's place on December 11th, and the two spent most of the time drinking tequila, watching movies, and pretty much going with the flow. After some time, Lauren's brother arrived, and she reportedly stepped out of her apartment to give him a basket of clothing he'd left for laundry. After coming in, she went to the bathroom for about 15 minutes before coming back to the living room and resuming the movie she and Matthew had been watching. According to Matthew, Lauren fell asleep during the movie, but he continued watching it. After he finished it, he picked her up and tucked her into bed. He then lay down beside her and fell asleep.
The man told police that the night before, the two were drinking tequila and Smithfields became ill and, quote, went to the bathroom to vomit. They continued drinking and she fell asleep.
Matthew's version of the story clearly stated that he and Lauren did not have sex, but he claimed that he woke up around 3 a.m. and saw Lauren snoring and then fell back to sleep. He slept for 3 more hours, and when he gained his senses, he was stunned by the view before him. Lauren was unresponsive, and from what it seemed, she wasn't alive.
The report makes no reference to the two having sexual relations that night. The man says he heard Smithfield snoring around 3:30 a.m. When police arrived before 7 a.m., she had been, quote, dead for at least an hour or more and had dried in and around her right nostril.
He saw a small red trail of coming out of her right nostril. He then called 911, and the operator gave him instructions to perform CPR on Lauren, but it was of no help. The first responders arrived and found that Lauren had already passed away. He was trembling and visibly shaken, the responding officer Carla Ramele said in the report. The police asked Matthew a few questions, and he was able to answer everything properly. They collected Lauren's phone, car keys, passport, and more than $1,300 they found in her apartment. Then they picked up her body and went away to start the investigation. Lauren's family had many questions after hearing this story, but when Lauren's brother asked for more details, the detective wasn't cooperative. He quickly disconnected, saying that he would get back to them with more information soon. However, he never called back.
The whole day goes by. No police reach out to the family at all.
This is where Lauren's family began an uphill battle to push the case forward. They had to request the detective many times to come to her apartment and collect evidence before they could be destroyed. But the detective and his team seemed passive about the case. When speaking with reporters, Lauren's family said that it was evident from their actions that they didn't care about this case at all.
It was careless. It was no concern. There was no care for the family about how we felt, our grief, our pain, none of that.
Lauren's brother tried asking about Matthew, who was there when his sister passed away, but the detective said he seemed like a nice person and there was nothing to investigate about him. And then he hung up on him.
They didn't even contact us. They didn't let us know anything. It's crazy. And I'm asking what's going on. He said she met some guy on Bumble, and I'm asking about the guy. He's like, oh, he sounds like a really nice guy. He sounds like a really good guy. And he was like, I'll call you back, and just hung up in my face.
The police had reportedly spoken with Matthew only once at the crime scene when they came to retrieve Lauren's body, and they believed the story he told them. The detectives never bothered to make him the prime suspect in the case and let him walk away. What's unbelievable is that they didn't try to collect any evidence for the forensics, didn't question the neighbors, or didn't even contact her family to collect information for the investigation. While it's not uncommon for the police to delay informing the family of the deceased by a few hours, they never show this level of apathy.
They're told there's nothing to investigate. He seems like a nice guy. They never quarantined the area. They never collected anything of value.
No parent has ever had to learn from the landlord of their child's apartment that their child is no more. Reportedly, the detectives also labeled her case as no need for investigation. Lauren's family wasn't happy with this treatment. They believed that the detectives should have looked into Matthew's history and background, and they felt insulted by this move and believed that they were victims of racism.
The man who found Lauren is not currently considered a person of interest. What is the family's response to that?
The family is very insulted by that. They weren't looked at as a person of interest, and we feel that it's racially motivated.
Here's the twist in the story. After hearing Matthew's story, Lauren's family told the police another version of the story, and it's nowhere close to what Matthew had claimed. They said that Lauren had been feeling ill all afternoon on December 11th, and that by the time Matthew arrived, she was already sick. And this is what the family claimed. After she met her brother the last time that day, she became more sick and started vomiting inside her apartment. And that is probably when she went to the bathroom for 15 minutes. After this, Matthew perhaps carried her to bed immediately, and they didn't watch any movie as claimed by him. But if she was already sick, why did she take alcohol, watch movies, and party with Matthew that night? Shouldn't she have been resting? Matthew's story didn't really add up here. Lauren's family was soon able to get access to her apartment, and when they saw that the police weren't going to help them, they decided to take things into their own hands. Then, they found multiple incriminating evidence inside that apartment that clearly pointed at the person who took Lauren's life. Once Shantell and her son checked the apartment thoroughly, they were convinced that Matthew had lied to the police about not being intimate with Lauren on the night of the incident. They found a used condom in her bathroom. Shantell also found on her sheets, something the police probably chose to overlook because they never spoke of it. And it wasn't a drip that had come out of her nose. In fact, the amount was concerning. She also found a pill nearby and had no clue what it was or how it was used that night.
According to the notice of claim, the family found their own evidence, including stained sheets and, quote, a pill used as a sedative and a used condom.
I looked and I just broke down, Ms. Fields said. But Shantell knew one thing. Matthew's version of the story was not true. She called the police and told them about the evidence they'd found in the apartment. but they were still unbothered.
And 2 cups of like drinks or whatever next to a bottle, they didn't take none of that. We seen a condom, we seen lube, other stuff in there, and they didn't take none of this.
After Lauren's family pushed them for around a month, they collected the evidence, but didn't send them to the forensic immediately. Her family waited for progress, but their patience was waning. When the reporters received news on Lauren's family finding important evidence, they tried speaking to the police about it. They didn't make a comment on their findings and announced that the investigation was open. They paid their condolences to the Smithfields family and hoped that they would be able to crack the case soon. Meanwhile, friends, family, and locals demanded an explanation for Lauren's sudden and suspicious demise. They marched the city on the date of Lauren's 24th birthday and addressed the authorities to step up and solve the case. They also brought a cake, sang happy birthday, and released pink and red balloons into the sky.
Tonight, new developments in the death of a 23-year-old black woman who died after a dating app meetup, after protesters demanded answers. Marching on what would have been Lauren Smithfield's 24th birthday Sunday, carrying balloons to mark the occasion.
After the march, the mayor, Joseph P. Ghanem, said, "Death notifications should be done in a manner that illustrates dignity for the deceased and respect and compassion for the family." He expressed his desire to work with the police department and bring about the required changes in the process of notifying the family members of the deceased.
Bridgeport's mayor tells us that he will work with police to, quote, make appropriate changes regarding death notifications for family members. And that's in direct response to the claims of the family, who say the police did not notify them of Amber's death 24 hours after she passed.
At this point, Lauren's family had had enough. After feeling helpless for weeks, they decided to sue the city of Bridgeport for negligence and racism.
Her family now filing a notice of claim, a first step in preparing to sue the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut for its, quote, racially insensitive handling of Smithfield's sudden passing.
The notice of claim said they have failed to investigate this matter and they refuse to view the last person with Lauren Smithfields before she died as a person of interest. When speaking with reporters, the family members said that the police treated their daughter like garbage because otherwise they would take the case seriously and at least collect the evidence in a proper manner.
Our daughter, their sister, our loved one, they thought they was gonna just throw her away like she was
Garbage.
Lauren's brother said that he hoped that the police could have at least shown some care to assure them, but they were continuously shutting them out.
I mean, whatever happened that night, we want to know, and we want to feel like that they care as much as we care.
2 more weeks later, just one day after the family said they were unhappy with the progress of the case and wanted to sue the city, Lauren's autopsy report was released, and the results were shocking. It claimed that Lauren had passed away from an overdose of multiple drugs, including antihistamines, alcohol, and
Tonight, her death ruled an accident by the Connecticut Chief Medical Examiner. The cause of death is multiple drugs, including and alcohol.
This caused another uproar from Lauren's family because they claimed that she was never into substance abuse and rarely drank alcohol. They also added that she was into fitness, had a plant-based diet, and went to the gym regularly. She was in great health and would never take any narcotics or drugs outside her prescribed medicines. Many also scrutinized the 2 antihistamines found in Lauren's body. One of them was common and taken for allergies, sleep deprivation, and even anxiety. But the second type, promethazine, was commonly taken for cough with another medicine named codeine. The latter was banned in the US, and promethazine also gradually disappeared from the market. The combination was now only available in party drugs. Now, even if Lauren took it, the toxicology report didn't mention both the drugs of the combination, just promethazine. And without the combination of both, people couldn't get high. Taking promethazine alone would make them sleepy. If you're partying, you'll likely take both for a bit of fun, and Lauren's toxicology report didn't mention her having both. That means she wasn't planning on getting high. It also didn't make sense because Lauren supposedly took multiple antihistamines on that day that were bound to make her fall asleep. If she had a date lined up, why would she take so many of them? And at this point came the speculation that someone must have given her all those medicines. Without promethazine paired with codeine, it looked like someone purposely gave her too many antihistamines to make her fall asleep, not to get high. But who was it? Was it Matthew? Did he really want her dead? Lauren's family hired an attorney named Darnell Crosland. After taking charge of her case, he appeared before the media and told them that they weren't satisfied with the toxicology report because it seemed inconclusive. Lauren had no history of substance abuse, So he claimed that the police should have investigated how those had gotten into her system. We thought from the beginning that there was foul play here, Mr. Crosland said. He added that the involvement of various pointed to the fact that someone had indeed done it intentionally. Now to find out that all of these substances are in their daughter's body that basically took her life, they're so angry right now. This looks further like a manslaughter. He claimed that Matthew should have been the first person of interest and interrogated accordingly. When you launch an investigation, that investigation must start with and include the last living person that reported the death of the other person. Lauren's brother added that when he went to get the basket of clothes from his sister, she didn't seem drunk. The family then began protesting on the streets to bring the case to the attention of the authorities and the general public, hoping to get justice. The department handed the case from Detective Cronin to someone else, but their relationship with Lauren's family had already soured.
The family says the relationship with police devolved from there. No contact from December 13th until December 29th. They returned to the apartment to clear out Lauren's belongings and claim a new detective came by to say he'd taken over the case.
And the mortifying fact is that the case has since been pending. There have been no updates since 2022, and the new team has said that they're still working on it. It's infuriating that no one questioned Matthew or detained him to push the investigation. They'd simply accepted the case as an accident and showed reluctance to work on it further. Matthew himself never reached out to Lauren's family and paid his condolences, and they found it disturbing.
That genuinely cared and they were there, the last person there, and they know that nothing bad happened, you would at least even reach out to the family yourself. Like, listen, I know I'm sorry for your loss of your daughter or your sister.
Lauren's mother found it devastating that Lauren's perpetrator was still out there living a normal life, and her child had her life snatched away. "My daughter's laying there dead and he gets to walk away," she said. Lauren's father claimed that he'd done another autopsy on Lauren and found that she had not taken any narcotics on that night.
Without a doubt, we know that my daughter was not a drug user, and I had a second autopsy myself, paid out of pocket, because we felt so uncomfortable with the way it was handled.
He also said that Detective Cronin appeared condescending and wasn't cooperative with the family. They weren't given any other contacts.
The only contact that we have had was from a very insensitive, condescending, and arrogant detective.
Maria Pereira, a city council member who represents Ms. Smith-Fields' district, was vocal about the case and believed that things would turn out differently if Lauren was white and wealthy. "I believe wholeheartedly this would have never happened if it was an affluent white family's daughter," said Ms. Pereira. News reporters reached out to Bumble for their statement. The company is known for being cooperative with law enforcement in such cases. However, they don't initiate investigations themselves.
Bumble, which is a pretty popular dating app, told us in a statement that they've been in touch with law enforcement but, quote, have not received a request for any information and that they always cooperate regarding investigations.
Their official statement said the following: "We are deeply saddened by news of Lauren Smith-Fields' death and have reached out directly to the family to offer support. The physical and emotional safety of our community is of paramount importance. We investigate member complaints and take swift, decisive action against any members who do not meet our standards. The safety of our community is our priority, and we will continue to work day in and day out to keep our members safe. We have a dedicated team who responds to requests for information from law enforcement authorities around the world. We are engaged with law enforcement and supporting the investigation, but this still didn't assure that these incidents wouldn't repeat. There was no way to identify the kids and physical abuse who sign up on these apps, and anyone could fall prey to these predators. Also, Bumble's history says that they haven't really handled these cases well in the past. In 2020, ProPublica reported that the company failed to respond to a user's complaint of being sexually assaulted and that her alleged profile continued to appear on the app. The presence of offenders on dating apps is another disturbing problem. Let's see if Bumble can bring a feature that ensures safety for both parties involved. Lauren might be far from reaching justice, but her demise has set a law in motion. The police department is now required to inform the family of the deceased about their passing within 24 hours. Lauren's attorney Croslands believes that it will help many families going forward.
It was passed unanimous. Both blue and red was all green lights for yes. And so we're happy that that passed because in the future, other people will benefit from that.
In 2023, Internal Affairs conducted an investigation on Bridgeport's handling of Lauren's case, but even the investigation reports were inconclusive. It only added to the frustration of Lauren's family.
We haven't gotten the results of the Internal Affairs. Not a finding of yes, not a finding of no, just nothing.
At this point, no one knows when the investigation will finally have a concrete result. While we wait for Lauren's justice, we sincerely hope that we don't see more of these cases in the upcoming years. So, what did you think of the case? Do you think this case can still be solved? Do you think the police are trying to protect Matthew, and that's why they're delaying the investigation? Or do you think the mishandling is purely racial? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.